Hi, everybody. Okay, so as many of you know, I had my surgery on Monday, and I wanted to do a video to talk about that. But I like to start with this card thing that I did the first time. The answer is simple, and the card I pulled today was Spread the Light. Did that right before. And so I thought this would be kind of a cool thing to share with everybody because I really just like it so much. So excuse me, I have to put on my glasses because I'm old and blind. Your spirit is powerful and inspirational, and it can even heal those around you. One of the most potent healing acts of spirit is to witness and acknowledge its light in others. Look around and notice who's in need of being seen. Notice those whose light of spirit is dim or at risk of going out. Reignite that fire with recognition. Tell others that you love their spirit. Don't be afraid to speak this out loud. To be seen in the light of your living spirit is a highly healing experience and one that you can spread. Today you're called to be a healer. Give a compliment. Acknowledge a service person by name. Write a letter of recommendation. Open your wallet and give a healthy tip to an individual who carried your bag, waited on you at a restaurant, or picked up your garbage. Smile and say hello to a homeless man or woman. Wave to a neighbor. Be friendly to a stranger. Especially acknowledge the light in the one whom you have the most difficulty appreciating. This will heal you. You've been called to spread light all day. Enjoy. So, the one thing that resonated with me in that was neighbor. And I have had the best neighbors in my life. And I joke with them a lot about it. So I just want to acknowledge some of my neighbors, if that's okay, because I've really been very, very blessed. And I'll make it very quick. First, I'd like to say Mel. Mel, who was my neighbor in Vegas, who I had coffee with every morning at 5 a.m. before a conference call. Boy, I could really use one of those mornings now. We would sit and talk for an hour before the day started and have coffee. And I miss her, and she was a great neighbor, and we have stayed in touch and caught up recently, and she's doing wonderful, and I'm just still to this day very grateful that I had her in Vegas, a place that felt somewhat disconnected. And she made my home feel like a home. So, dibs, Mel. Also to Loretta, who lives 2 doors down from me, who's been a dear friend and a wonderful support, and will lend me her whole closet. Like literally, I said, I can't afford any outfits. Can I go shop in your closet? And she let me into her home. And I mean, who does that? I don't even know that I would do that. And let me borrow whatever I wanted. She is just such a warm, loving, giving soul, and I am so incredibly blessed to have her. Wendy and Clayton, my dear neighbors across the street, who have been such a huge support to me in so many ways. I don't even know where to begin with them. I love them and all of my neighbors so much. Some of the beautiful flowers behind me are from Wendy and Clayton, and they just have not stopped praying for me or checking on me. I can't thank you both enough. You are just, all of you are such wonderful neighbors. And then then I started branching out, and I'm like, okay, so like Siesta Key, I mean, I can't not mention all of the neighbors on this key that supported Chancellor through his lung cancer and were supportive of me. People I didn't even know. I mean, this is the warmest, most loving place I think I've ever lived. I just don't ever want to leave here. I love this island. And then, there's these kind of little small blessing neighbors that I get that still deserve to be mentioned because they've impacted me, and I don't even know that they've impacted me. So just as recent as yesterday, Lorraine Stafford posted, she lives right down at the end of my street, her and her husband, who are awesome people. She posted this great thing on Facebook about the longevity of relationships and how important it is, and the gifts that are given when you really have trust and loving kindness and someone who's supportive, and even in the dark days and the days that are trials. And it was so beautiful, and I know it touched so many people because there was a lot of comments on it. But I mean, just little gifts like that. Diane Conforti, who gave me a great gift in the very beginning of this, she said to me at the beach, this is before I even started this channel and all of this, she said to me at the beach, one thing is, and she went through breast cancer, she said, I said, I'm so torn because I don't want people to say, oh, how are you? And I dread that. The thought of that is dreadful to me. And she said, just tell him to tell you what's shaking. Just say, come up to me and say what's shaking. Don't ask me how I'm doing, because if you want to hear how I'm doing, I'll tell you. And there are going to be days that I'm not doing so great. So what's shaking, Diane? I love it. And I think people will benefit from that. Kathy Stern, who has cried with me and prayed for me. I love you. You and Ed are so dear to my heart. Rick and Bev, who never fail to remind me that I'm in their prayers. Again, I love you. And my neighbor, who's not so much a neighbor anymore, Terry Bear, I can't not mention her. She is a dear friend of mine and held my hand before Emmett got here with every blood draw, and has been, kind of like the sister mom to me, was always there for me and helped me in my moments of fear and angst, in medical things and in private things as well. And you've been a dear friend, and I love you so much. Oh, goodness. I just want to make sure I'm not missing anybody, because I've just been so blessed. So my neighbors, to my neighbors today, I just want to say I'm insanely grateful to all of you. And I'm so thankful that you're all in my life. Okay, so let's talk about the lumpectomy. So I was pretty scared, and I know I posted on Facebook that I was terrified and asked for some prayers, and I wasn't looking for sympathy. I was truly looking for prayers just to kind of give me some empowering and strength to get me through it. I mean, I have a blessed rosary, and I wear my scapula. So I've got a lot of good positive things that feel good. But I was scared. And, most importantly, I was scared of the anesthesia. I'm terrified of being knocked out. I would, unlike many people, so much rather just be awake, be awake, maybe with a headset on and maybe a little, relaxant. But that's not really an option in this kind of situation. So some of you may know that prior to all of this surgery and stuff, I had a colonoscopy and an endoscopy. That was required for my surgeon to do the surgery. She just wanted to make sure there was no other underlying cancers. And they put me under propanol. Propanol spelled Propanal, I think. And I was only out for 15 minutes for that colonoscopy. And I woke up feeling incredibly refreshed. There was only a few seconds of fear before going to sleep. But I woke up really refreshed. I didn't have that cloudy feeling that you get from a general anesthesia, which is scary to me too. And it also has a tendency to trigger some anxiety attacks. So it's something that's in that general anesthesia, really was never comfortable for me. And for days it took me to kind of get past it. And so when we went on Monday to have the surgery, and I met with the anesthesiologist before the surgery, I asked him, I said, is it possible I could get a Twilight or a Propanol instead of general anesthesia? And he said, sure, we can do Propanol. And I was elated because I had just had that a few weeks prior, and I knew there was not a really bad reaction. And, everybody I think is afraid of just going to sleep and not waking up, and what a horrible thing. And so anyway, I had the Propanol, and it made everything going in so much better. So let's talk about that. So we get to the hospital, went to Moffitt Hospital in Tampa to have the surgery. Prior to the surgery, they come in, they put an IV in your hand, and then they sent in this nuclear medicine lady who was very nice, very empathetic. She just had a really good, warm, fuzzy energy, because obviously what she was about ready to do to me was not going to be a pleasant situation. And so she said, I'm going to put some radioactive medicine in you, which is terrifying. I just think, though, that is the number one, again, most terrifying concept of all of this is the stuff they're putting in you. And you're just afraid you're going to have a reaction or it's going to kill you, right? So anyway, Terry Bear, speaking of this. So anyway, she comes in with a needle, and she had to do 4 injections into my left breast, with radioactive material. And Emma came over and held my hand, and I have to tell you, it was not pleasant. The first one was okay. The second one was a little worse. The third and fourth one, she was giving me shots in my nipple, essentially, and kind of putting it in and then lifting it up and then squirting it out. not a pleasant experience. I didn't pass out. I'm improving on that front, which is really good. And, you know, I bouted off something very vulgar afterwards. You know, Emmett's sitting there and he's like, honey, that didn't look too bad. And I'm like, yeah, let me shoot one of those in your ball sack, right? Like, oh my God. I was like, really though, this is not a comfortable thing. And then afterwards he disclosed to me that, you know, it looked really painful and it actually made him cringe a little bit. So anyway, food for thought. So she also explained to me that I was going to be injected with this red dye during surgery for them to check my lymph nodes to ensure that there was nothing in my lymph nodes, no cancer in my lymph nodes, and mostly underneath my arm and whatnot. So it got past that part, got past the propanol. I had a conversation with my surgeon. I had an oncologist surgeon and a plastic surgeon. Because of the amount of breast tissue that was coming out, they were putting in a breast implant, like a gummy bear breast implant. And it was to create space, because otherwise I'd have one that was really small and one that was normal and kind of flat and not flat. And so if I ever want to do anything like reconstructive wise, they needed to create space, and there would be a lot of scar tissue in the upcoming radiation. So it's going to push and morph and get weird on me, but the space will be there if I ever want to do anything in the future. So I had a plastic surgeon and an oncology surgeon. And so I had a brief conversation with them. Everything gets a little foggy after that. I don't really remember going into the operating room or anything. And came out and Smurf peed for like literally a whole day. And it was so funny because Em wanted to see it. He's like, I don't believe it. Let me see it. And I have a picture, and I'll if I can figure out how to put it on like this little bottom part, I will. But it was literally Smurf pee. My pee was as blue as a Smurf. And I would say the same tone of the color. It was Smurf pee. So that dye came out of me for a good 24 hours. And so did the radioactive stuff, I guess, but you don't see that. So recovery was interesting. I came home with no bra on. Not so much as a Band-Aid on my scars. I'm going to show you my scars too in a minute. If you want to see them, I'll give you a little window to look away. If you don't want to see them, they're really not that bad. I was actually really shocked, but I said the good, the bad, and the ugly from the beginning, and so this will be the ugly. Anyway, they sent me home with no bra, no Band-Aids on any of my stitches areas, and I had two. Christina, my cousin, I'm sorry, I was misspoken. They did actually take two of my lymph nodes out, to test them, and they were clean. I got that call on Friday, which is about the best news you can hope for in this situation. So even though they suspected they weren't in my lymph nodes, we now have proof that they're not in my lymph nodes, and they're still running some pathology on the tumor that was taken out. The tumor, they took out 2 centimeters. My tumor was about 1.5, a little bit bigger than that. So they took out a whole 2 centimeters, which used to be standard procedure, to take out 2 centimeters around every tumor. I was very fortunate in that it was solely in my muscle, so it was somewhat encapsulated, which didn't cause it to spread. At least that's the hope. And it still tested positive for progesterone and what's the other hormone? Estrogen. And they're running another HER2 test on it. I'm not going to lie, there's a little piece of hope in me that says maybe they were wrong about the HER2 diagnosis. That can sometimes be the difference between chemotherapy and no chemotherapy. But, fingers crossed. Either way, I think I'm already prepared for the HER2 and the chemo. I mean, as prepared as any person can be. Some of the other complications I had, because I had a DVT in January, I had to go off my blood thinners for this surgery. That right up there with the poisonous stuff is a scary thing, because I don't want to have another DVT or pulmonary embolism, and you have to be off of them so many days prior to surgery and, 1 full day after. And, that's a scary thing. So my outfits have really taken a toll, like I can only wear sports bras, which aren't the most attractive thing in the world, but I can live with that. And I have to constantly wear I have to constantly wear a compression stocking on my left leg. So I've gotten some in some funky colors and stuff. But, I wonder sometimes what people think when they see me in these outfits and this one stocking, like if I'm trying to create some sort of new fashion statement or something, which I promise you I am not. But you know what? I'm here. I'm alive. The cancer is out. I do feel so great knowing that it's out of me. Like there was so much trepidation about I just want it out and I'm so afraid of the anesthesia. And, it's like this bittersweet struggle that you go through between your left brain and right brain. And it's like, I want it out of me. I'm terrified of what you have to do to get it out of me. But I'm good. And, I left with the understanding that, hey, I'm probably not going to take the pain pills. I'm not much into pain pills. And they do give you a disclosed warning, which is good now that they can become addictive and all this kind of stuff. And never been one to take pain pills. Actually, I despise the way they make me feel. They make me feel like my whole, like when your hand's asleep, that's how my whole body feels. Like my head feels that way, like pins and needles, and like my brain's not connected to my skull. It makes me very uncomfortable. It does give me a little bit of anxiety. It surely doesn't relax me. But I did have to take some. When the anesthesia wore off the first night, it was a 9. It was definitely a 9 in pain. I shouldn't have waited that long. If I could say something to anyone, in my head, it's like, well, I don't know if it's going to hurt that bad, so we'll just wait and see if it does. I am smart enough to know that you want to get ahead of the pain, not chase the pain. But the first time, you just don't know if you're going to be in that much pain, and I was. So I took pain pills for, I took like 2 full ones. And then I went to a half the second day, half doses, and then none after that. Really hate the way they make me feel. Really hate it. Just not comfortable. I don't understand how anyone can get addicted to those. They're freaking horrible. So they took 2 lymph nodes. They came back clear. They took out the mass, the tumor, and they put in an implant, some new kind of gummy bear implant that you don't ever have to worry about leaking. Again, this was just a place to keep space. So I'm going to show you the scars because I'm surprised how well they're healing. Now, it's currently Saturday, and I had the surgery on Monday. They sealed them with some stitches and glue. There's one I can't show you, and that is the one that's under my breast that they use to put the implant in. I can't lift it up without showing you more than you should probably see. So I'll do my best here. So, okay. So this is where they took the lymph nodes out. It doesn't look like much. It's pretty swollen though. I don't know if you can kind of tell the difference. It's hard and swollen. And honestly, this one hurts the worst. This is the one that is the most painful. This is, let's see if I can do this. This is where they took my mass out. And underneath here, I've got a purple bruised scar about that big, where they went in to kind of put the implant in. And honestly, when I woke up, I was so excited about not having this morphic breast, like I didn't know what it was going to look like. And I was prepared for the worst. I mean, what else can the look of my boob was honestly the least of my worries, but it was still in my head because I do have a boyfriend, and I want him to find me attractive. And, it's just that girl shit goes through your head. And so when I looked at my boob after surgery, I was elated. I think it actually looked better than it did before, if that's even possible. And I guess I wanted to show everyone. So I was under the influence. I plead guilty to the influence. One more thing that has happened so my doctor called me on Friday, gave me all this information, good stuff. It was good news before the weekend. Not anything I wasn't expecting, but really thrilled about the potential HER2 test again. I wanted to have that done again. Glad we're doing it again. Maybe there's a chance. It's not HER2, which would be freaking great. So I've had one more thing that I want to discuss with you, and I'll make it very quick because it's really 2 more things. One, garlic. In my divorce in 2006, I think it was 2006, I had an allergic reaction to garlic. And since that point, I've not been able to eat it. I can eat a little bit here and there. I always think it's important to have a little bit in your diet. For instance, when I make chili, I might throw a couple whole cloves of garlic in, but I don't actually ingest them. I just get the flavor from them. I think that's important, unless, of course, we're talking about peanuts, which is a whole nother deal. But I always try to have just a little bit in my diet so that I don't have some anaphylactic shock reaction if I get a little bit somewhere by mistake. And the doctor told me that a long time ago, that I could do that. And I've done that both with the two things I've been allergic to, garlic and onions. And I love them both, so it totally sucks. So I'd say about 3 months ago, I started incorporating a little more garlic in my diet. I was kind of craving it, and like my body needed it. And so I have been incorporating it in my diet. And I'm so thrilled, and I'm going through this phase where I'm like, this is awesome. Maybe I'm not allergic to it anymore. So last night I'm cooking dinner, and I put a clove of garlic in my scallops and spinach, and I eat it and don't think about it. I had a little bit of anxiety last night because Emmett wasn't here. It's the first night we've been apart in a long time. I just, with everything that's going on in my world, I just get a little bit of anxiousness. And I started to get hives on my neck, like really bad hives. And I thought, well, I'm just having a little anxiety. No big deal, right? So this morning I got up, I ate breakfast, I cut up a tomato on the cutting board, and it had a little bit of the flavor of the garlic, and I didn't really think about it. It was like, ugh, I didn't want that for breakfast, but whatever. And then I got sick, and I got hives, and I'm suddenly can't eat garlic again. This is exactly what happened to me the last time. So I almost feel like the cancer, I know this sounds crazy, but I almost feel like the cancer needed the garlic. Like there was something in it that my body needed. And, I think it's so important that we pay attention to those cues. Like when you really are craving something, if you're craving a burger, maybe you just need to eat a good piece of healthy red meat. Or if you're craving garlic, just, roast some garlic and spread it on some healthy, hearty bread. I don't know what the answer is, but I'm just saying, I think it's very weird that for the last 3 months, I've been able to eat garlic without incident. And now that I've had this surgery, I am back to the allergic reaction that I had prior to cancer. It's fascinating, and I'm going to do more research on it, but I just wanted to share it because I thought it was fascinating. One more thing. Emma took me to see a movie this week. There wasn't a lot I could do, but what it did was it really resonated with me because I've had a lot of advice where people have said to me, make sure you don't completely change your pattern. One of my friends made sure she played tennis every week. I know I've mentioned it in another video. I could have easily stayed in bed all week this week, jacked up on painkillers. And, I am in pain. I'm still in pain right now. And I could have easily brushed that off as a way just to not get out of bed. But Emma's like, hey, let's go for a drive. Let's go see a movie. The drive was a little tough because the bumps hurt, but we went to see a movie and it was really nice. And they have these theaters now with these big reclined seating where I could put my legs up. People bring you soda and popcorn. And so I encourage you, if any of your friends are going through this or your partner, try to get them out of the house. Get some sunshine on their face. He put the convertible top down. It was so nice just to get a little, you don't know until you do it. And sometimes it's just I had to get up and walk because of my DVT. And walking around the house and going around the island, is only about as satisfactory as it is. So I wanted to mention that. I think it's really important to make sure you get somebody out, cheer them up, send them flowers, because those cheered me up so much, and I have enjoyed watching them bloom every day. And it is just, it's life, right? Flowers are life. Thank you, Gemma, Wendy, and Clayton. And finally, my recycling thing, because I forgot to do this when I was with Mom, and she had so many great tips, and I'm going to make her do it when she comes back for the chemo, talk about how she lives a mindful presence in regards to the planet Earth. This is one of my new favorite things, and since I buy so many vegetables and so many fruits, and I clean them, and I store them, and I prep them for the week. Have you seen these? So this is basically the same thing. This is one of the really big ones. And you can put This is how you put the top on. You squeeze the air out and you put the top on. This is how I store my fruits and vegetables. And because I have so many, I highly recommend these. You can get these on Amazon. I don't know, $24. You get like 6 or 8 of them, I think. You know, obviously that's not going to completely replace your Ziploc baggies, but man, wouldn't it be great if you could just kind of build up over time and stop buying those all together? I know they're super convenient. I have a pet peeve. Nothing annoys me more than things that are convenient that destroy our environment. Plastic cups is a big one for me. I always use this. If I go to a place and they won't fill it, then I won't go there anymore. It's just that simple. But I take my own water with me. This is a great way to stop buying the plastic baggies that I pick up or see on the beach every single day that are filling our oceans, that are killing our fish. You know, it's just about being mindful. These are silicone. These don't leak. There's little weight, you can measure if you want to do measurements. These can be stored in the fridge. They can be put in the dishwasher. Go on Amazon, buy yourself some of these. Try to at least supplement some of the plastic waste you use, please. Our oceans are important. You guys enjoy my sunset pictures. I care about our oceans. So, and you should too, because that's our future. Okay, that's it. I'm working real hard to keep these under 30 minutes. I love you guys. I hope you find this helpful. I hope I didn't gross you out too much with the scar showing. And I may be adding a video that I sent to my mother where I look absolutely horrific after the surgery, you know, screwed up in the brain from the medicine, because I look freaking terrible. And that's part of it, right? The good, the bad, the ugly. Love you guys. Peace.